Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about an EarthBox. And these amazing planters, if you like to vegetable garden but don't have the room, or if you travel a lot in the summertime and you worry about it drying out while you're gone, or if you just don't have a green thumb, these things are amazing and pretty much grow anything. And so let's take a closer look at them and I can tell you why the system works so well. Okay, so one primary thing before we dive into the EarthBox itself, one of the things that I find that it works so well is because most of our customers, in my experience, kill plants with too much or too little water. So the beauty of the EarthBox is the fact that it's self-watering. So you set it up, there's a little plastic cover that goes over the top, and it keeps the rainwater out. And so the only water the planters are getting is what it's wicking up from the reservoir down below. All you have to do is remember to keep the reservoir full of water. If you just forget to do that, you're gonna still kill it. But honestly, anybody that has used the EarthBox over the years, the plants just usually explode in growth, and because it just takes human error out of everything. So if you're looking for that first time vegetable garden, something easy, something guaranteed that, well, as guaranteed as you're gonna get, they're gonna have a good success with it, EarthBox is the way to go. But let's take a closer peek at this so I can tell you, show you firsthand what it looks like when you get it, why it works so well, and how it all comes together. So this is the EarthBox. This is how they traditionally come. It's just a canister, but they give you just a few different things inside here. A tube for setting it up, the casters to go in the bottom, and then they have an optional staking kit. So as you can see in this drawing here, if you wanted to grow tomatoes or cucumbers or anything else that would need support, they've got a nice little trellis kit that clicks on there. We're going to be setting that up today. And so, but the reason, again, this works so well is all this plastic right here is a reservoir for water. So it holds quite a bit of water down below. And then you set up the tubing here on the side. So this tube is going to ultimately come in and pop up right there. And then we fill this with soil. They even give you the fertilizer and some dolomitic lime to go in there, and the instructions walk you through how to all apply that. But once this is set up, there's a weed fabric that's going to go right over the top of this too, and it's also going to keep not only the weeds out, but it's also going to keep the moisture from the rain and anything like that out. So the only water that the plants will receive is what capillary action is wicking up. Human error gets taken out of it altogether. All you do is make sure that this reservoir stays full of water, and once you add water to it, once the reservoir is full, it'll pour out the overflow. That's it. So let's open it up, start putting it together, and see how it all comes together. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is put the casters, the little wheels, on the bottom of the planter. So just flip it over, they come together pretty easy. Just pop them on. You got to push down on them pretty decent, but they do just pop right in. That goes pretty quick. Okay, so now that I've got all the pieces laid out for the EarthBox, it's time to start filling it in and start planting, well, getting all the media and prepping the EarthBox. The biggest thing, actually, I guess the only thing that's not included in the kit is the potting soil. And so you can use any peat moss based potting soil. My go-to is usually the Coast of Maine, but Coast of Maine has a little bit more nutrients associated with it. And so I haven't experimented with that. So I'm keeping it to the basics. I'm just using a Pro Mix, professional peat moss potting mix, what we use to grow on everything. But 1 2 cubic foot bag of a nice peat moss based mix is all you need for this kit. But there are a few things when you're placing the soil in there to just help make sure it all works properly. So let's take a peek. The first thing is you want to make sure that this grate is in here and that it's all secured. And then we slide the tubing inside here, and that's our access point for the reservoir. But what they do recommend is these corners here. Pack it in, and you want to make sure you've got moist potting soil. And so mine's still a little bit dry, but I'm going to pack it right in those holes. And the reason for it is we want to kind of jumpstart. We want to jumpstart the wicking action. So we're putting all that water down at the bottom, but this is the only place that this is in the water. So by making sure that this potting soil is already moist, we're gonna make sure that the minute we plant this thing up, all this potting soil that's in here, it takes a lot for that to wick up. So if you tried planting right in this right off the bat, it would have a tough time, and those plants may get a little drought stress while this is all mixing with moisture. So they do recommend that you just start with some pre-moistened potting soil and just make sure to pack in those corners. Now, once I know that the corners are packed in, the only other thing I'm going to do is, as I start to put potting soil in here, I'm going to make sure ultimately that I get some right around the corners here so that my reservoir is going to stick straight up. That'll probably be a little bit easier. But step one is pack those corners in, make sure the grate and everything is in place. Then I'm going to bring the potting soil all the way up to just a couple inches down from the top. So I got my potting soil up to just within a few inches of the top. I've gone through and I've made sure that my pipe is still straight up. Now, the only other thing that we add is at this point, they give you a bag of dolomite. So you'll typically want to just go through and at this point, just spread it evenly over the top of the whole soil. Just trying to make sure it's mixed in nice, relatively evenly as best you can. That's it. So that's done. Now I'm going to fill this all the way back up with the potting soil, and we'll get ready to add fertilizer. So we're all nice and full now, and again, I'm making sure that my reservoir stays nice and straight and still in the trough. Now, the last step is you just dig a little bit, about a 2-inch trough down the center of the planter. And then they give you a bag of a 777, and you just pour that in that trench, trying to get it spread out fairly evenly throughout the whole thing. And then we're going to cover that in. They do sell an organic kit, so if you wanted to do organic gardening, you just use an organic potting soil and get the replacement kits for these for organic gardening. But now that's it. I mean, you pretty much just bring it up within 2 inches, add your dolomite, then add some more potting soil, bringing it all the way up to the top, and then dig a little bit of a trench. Now, I guess there is some fine tuning. They give you some charts on the instructions that come with it. So depending on what crops you're going to plant in here, sometimes they may suggest putting the fertilizer in different locations. But for the most part, just a little 2-inch trench right down the center, I find, seems to be average. And then we're going to just finish topping off the potting soil. And the last step in this, it's hard to see, but if you look at it, you'll be able to see I'm ultimately going to try to mound it. So right now I'm pretty flat. I'm going to I'll add a little bit more soil in here, but you want to bring it all the way up to the top and then have the center slightly higher and then taper back down. I believe that is because if any rain does get on there, we want most of the rainwater to run off. We want it purely getting all its water coming out of its reservoir, and so could be wrong on that, but that's my take on why they have you do it, but all I know is it works. Okay, so that's pretty much it. One of the last steps is try to see it a little bit here. You can see my center is slightly higher and I'm sloping down on all sides. So you're really shooting for about 4 to 6 inches of potting soil over the top of that fertilizer strip you did down the middle. And this is just a little mulch cover, just slaps down, snaps over the side, and then your reservoir there. So that's pretty much it. I'm ready to go. At this point, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to fill that up with water until water starts pouring out the front here, and I am ready to go. At this point, they give you a bunch of instructions as to how many plants. You can see, like, if you wanted artichokes, you can do 2 seedlings, celery, you can do 6. So they take all the guesswork out of it. All you got to do is determine what you want to grow in here, and it will tell you how many. And then they give you an instruction manual as to placement. So, like in this particular picture, if I want to do tomatoes, I could do 2 tomatoes, and you'd offset them a little bit, and then use the optional trellis kit. I am going to shoot a separate video for the trellis kit, and I'm going to set that up because we're actually going to be doing pickling cucumbers on this. I have a buddy Ed who does this display, and he claimed he was getting about 50 cucumbers off of his that he does every year. So since Luke loves cucumbers, that's what we're gonna try. But that's it. I have to say, this thing does hold quite a bit of water because I've been at this for a little bit now, and you can see the water is finally pouring out the bottom. So it's no wonder this thing handles so much water. I mean, why it lasts so long in between waterings, because there had to be quite a few gallons of water in that reservoir, but as soon as you stop adding it, no more pouring out, reservoir is topped. So just in recap, if you are thinking about getting into vegetable gardening of any kind or container gardening, but you don't have a green thumb, or you really want to get a lot of fruit or vegetables off of one spot, give the Earthbox a try. Everything grows amazingness. I'm going to shoot it, as I mentioned, a separate video where we're going to be putting the optional trellis kit on it, and we'll actually be planting up some cucumbers, and then I'll even document as we go on in the season how well it's performing. But for now, I've been selling the Earthbox since they came out, and I've never had a customer come back. So if you're looking for that gift for somebody that has a brown thumb and they want to have a positive experience, go ahead and give it a try. It takes all the guesswork, and everything just puts the fun into it, because all you're doing is harvesting. There's no weeding, very little watering, and you don't have to worry about when did I fertilize, how much did I add. It's all done. Just set it and forget it, and then just take care of the plant. And so hope that works. Hope you get a chance to try it and have some fun with it. Take care.